Traditionally, we've looked at autoimmune diseases, these 157 rare diseases, based on where the body was getting attacked. We are fundamentally asking a different question, which is why.
You know, so many of us who enter the world of health and wellness do so because of our own health issues. And so I'm very curious about your personal story and how you came to start MyMee.
Yeah, so I think, MyMee was really born out of a problem that I had myself. I had struggled for almost 20 years with autoimmune disease, being diagnosed with psoriasis at 14. And at the time, I asked my doctor's team, so what are we going to do about my process? And was told that they were happy with my numbers. I'm an economist by training, and it was just completely unacceptable to me. And so I left the hospital that day, disempowered as a patient, but really empowered as a human being to some extent, because now I knew that there was something that I had to do myself. And so I started literally turning myself into numbers. And in 16 months, I was able to literally, through sort of an Excel spreadsheet and some homemade algorithms, reversing my disease symptoms, normalizing my blood work. And I've been drug and symptom free for over 8 years now. So it really was sort of like hacking my way back to health. And that was really what was the formation of MyMee, was this desire to help others, not having to go from place to place, but really be able to help themselves.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. I'm so inspired by your story, and I actually know your story all too well. I was myself diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I'm still on the journey, and I still have pain, but I've come a long way, and it's really wonderful to hear your story. Let's talk about autoimmune diseases. I'm really wanting to understand the pain points. The broader community doesn't fully understand this situation for patients of autoimmune conditions, and really, who is being left out of this area.
Yeah, so I think autoimmune disease, just like baseline, is when your system gets quote unquote confused and attacks itself. Traditionally, we've looked at autoimmune diseases, these 157 rare diseases, based on where the body was getting attacked. We are fundamentally asking a different question, which is why. And it's always been known that there were certain triggers. We've known, for example, that viruses and infections are a large trigger of autoimmune disease, which is bad news at this time in day and age because of COVID, right? We've never expected a virus to actually hit 70% of the population. So we're seeing a surge in the number of new autoimmune diseases as a result. But fundamentally, autoimmune disease and the immune system is largely dependent on lifestyle and environment. And that is quite different from the way we looked at it just a decade or two ago. So what we are able to do is actually help people pinpoint what is it that is making the difference for each individual. So it's an iterative process. There's no one size fits all. We have treated over 40 different autoimmune diseases to date. And the only thing we can say is that there's no, when you have RA, this is the model. When you have lupus, this is the model. There's a lot of similarities, but there's also a lot of differences. And I think it is extremely important to always be treating each individual through that lens. There's no one size fits all.
From a patient experience, then maybe walk us through what that looks like if you're a patient, or how do you get your hands on your digital solution?
The reason that we call MyMee is really because it allows for each individual to get a better understanding of themselves in order to reclaim their health. And so the journey typically starts with people learning how to track. We need data in order to find these causalities and understand. So almost think of it as taking body signals and turning that noise into understanding. So the way the program works is really that traditionally people come in, they've had 100 different rules, they're intermittently cheating on all of them because they have no idea what's actually working for them. And we help them get a blueprint to their own body so that it's very clear that X, Y, and Z is what's actually causing you to be in either so much pain or in a wheelchair or whatever it is that people need help overcoming. I think that no matter how you look at this, the diagnostic part of identifying triggers is only half the equation. Creating a sustainable behavior change is really a key. And I think that fundamentally what we are trying to do is be yet another tool for rheumatologists to use with clients, for clients to use by themselves, for, essentially everyone to obtain and reclaim their health.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear that. There's a greater respect for technologies that are really supporting identification of the root cause, because as we both know, that's potentially the source for majority of chronic diseases. So correct. That's really great to hear. So as a final question, I know that just listening to you and learning about your interests in the entire spectrum of care. So thinking about prevention, integrative care, as well as being able to support patients in their healing journey and with their symptoms. I'm curious to hear from you what your vision is then for the future of healthcare. Like, where do you think we're going, and how long do you think it'll take for us to really enter a system that's it's very MyMee focused, where where everyone is truly using different tools to really benefit themselves and really stepping into their own their own health experience?
I think we've already started that journey with food as medicine and a lot of the new ways that people address their own health. There is definitely a patient autonomy now that we didn't see in the past. I believe that MyMee, with the approach that we've taken, will be able to not only treat very sick patients and reverse disease symptoms, slow disease progression, we will also be able to introduce preventative rheumatology and essentially be able to help people before they spend 5 to 7 years getting diagnosed and then the rest of their life on a slow decline. We already now can see, let's say, organ involvement for a certain part of the autoimmune population that is not described in any medical literature. And those sort of findings, like this extra deeper layer of data that we have on the patients, I think will allow us as a healthcare industry to learn about the system in a way that we've never been able to before. I think technology will be a big driver in gaining insights. And then I think those insights will then sort of feed into the stack. I think that right now we're talking about genes and DNA and stuff, but there's a missing piece. And I think if you could be able to use other data entries to pinpoint where to look for things, I think we as a whole would benefit from what's going on.
Thank you so much for tuning in and learning with us. Mette's story from patient to biohacker to disruptor of autoimmune disease management through a clinically validated digital solution is truly inspiring.
The rise of digital therapeutics is intended to help us all envision a better healthcare system for the digital age, one that encompasses mental health care and prevention. If you like what you see, please follow along our journey. Thank you.